Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile and welcome to Typology Corner. Today I'm going to continue the cognitive function series and talk about introverted intuition. So, this function is considered an observer function. It's not about making decisions, but just taking in information. And as well as SI and NI, they have this in common. They are both considered organizing functions. So it's an internal observer. So it is a subjective, internal, more personal things that have been deemed meaningful in a sense, or yeah, I guess meaningful works. It's pattern recognition in an internal way from the things that they've experienced, and it's the patterns um, that they see in the information that then is causing them to shape their future with it. So it's a very future oriented function. So as they have like sifted through and like assimilated and like um, I keep saying make sense of, but yeah, as they are observing, I guess I would say is a better word for it. They're observing these patterns within the information that arise as they take in information, whether it's subconsciously they're taking things in, where they just get like a knowing of like the pattern in the information, the overall picture sort of thing. Um, they see the concepts that are behind things more so than the sensory information itself. So people who lead with NI or introverted intuition or have it high up, they are somewhat blurring out the actual somewhat for the concept. So um, the things that they experience prove the idea. It proves the concept that they're seeing, I guess, or they're supporting details for the overall concept that they are seeing in life. So it can be like, it's like metaphors, things like that. You could tell a whole like parable that doesn't directly relate to the actual details of the situation, but the parable speaks a truth about what's going on, that sort of thing. That's kind of what NI truths are like. NI abstract connections, that it's like this parable applies to what's going on. So this is like the word picture that correlates to the actual details, you know? So, yeah, high NI people can speak from that sort of place often, or just have a sense of knowing about stuff because they've just kind of, in just absorbing the extroverted sensing, just the details of what's actively going on around them, they get like a NI knowing of a pattern that's going on within that information. So, yeah, it's an internal function. It's more personal to the user, as opposed to extroverted intuition is they're a little less attached to what they're seeing. Like extroverted intuition is kind of like noticing patterns all over the place all the time. Extrovertedly, it's less personal, but they're seeing it. It's just I'm just seeing all these connections, right, in things and all the information. Ni has more of a like this is my chosen path, versus, hey, we could do this, we could do this, and this is an option, and this is an option. It could be this option, it could be this. And introverted intuitive has like selected one path, narrowed down to one, I want to say truth, but in a sense, like a one knowing, a one reality, a one guess, one concept of uh, the pattern in something, and they've kind of locked in on that one because it's introverted intuition is always refining and organizing the information, kind of crystallizing it down to like a pure truth, like a pure one liner way of saying. Uh, it's like a simplified, extracted concept that summarizes all of these things. That's kind of how it operates. So they like to be concise in that sense. Like, here's the pure truth. Here's the one liner. It fits in this category right here. All of that you just said fits in this concept. Um, yeah. So it's easy for them to see like in multiple cultures and stuff how like they're very similar. Like this group of people and this group of people have the same underlining truth going on with both of them. So they'll focus on that. As in, that's another example of like the SE that's out there, is further proving the concept that they're focused on. So they have a tendency to kind of not zero in on the detail as much, because they're like, the details change, but the concept is still true in all these different situations. So they'll rather say something that could be applicable to all. It's kind of like that line of wisdom that applies to lots of situations instead of just like going way in on one situation. So I think that gives a good picture of the SE that's in a person who has NI, because anyone who has NI has SE. It's just in what order, So those that are more focused on the NI part, the SE is kind of blurred out. It's just the details in the concept they're wanting to show, or the concept that they're focused on, that they're ever developing. So yeah, I kind of talked about this, but they are responsible to know their own future. They have chosen their own path. Like, an aspect of it is like, from the connections, there becomes a particular direction. I almost say like their direction or their vision is developed from noticing these, I guess that comes from organization. It's like, as you're organizing something, it becomes very exact in a sense of like, this is where we're going because we organized it and the pattern shows this is where we should go. So in a sense, somebody who has high NI, they feel very responsible to know their future, to wield their own future, to have the freedom to walk in the direction of their own future, to have control over getting there in a sense. That's really important to NI users, because if you're a person who's seeing a particular future, all the more it would be annoying to, not be able to get yourself there. If you're a person who doesn't need a particular one and you're not thinking about the future, then you're not thinking about it. But for a person who's this hyper focused on the future, high NI people are like the ultimate architects, the ultimate like prophets in a sense of like the future and like designing the future. They're very in touch with what they want. So yeah, everything kind of serves that vision that they have. So yeah, they are stacking abstract observations and organizing them. The concepts are personal to them. It's their personal knowing. They are focused on the pattern, not the details. The details vary to them, so they stay focused on the pattern that flows throughout all of the details. I went over this, but the details and objects are just the stuff in the situation. The category of their concepts is what they are tracking and developing. So yes, as an organizer, this is what they are focused on. And it winds up being that they wind up talking about maybe the same 10 topics, the same 5 topics. It's like, those are the categories that they are working on. Like, that's kind of what they give their life to, is those particular categories that are showing up in their NI, the patterns that they're recognizing, and they're ever refining those particular categories. So all new information is informing those categories to change them a little bit, to get them more accurate, to, adjust them. But in general, different NI users kind of lock on to what their future is about, what they want in life, where they want to go, where they're headed, it's whatever's in their particular NI box. So that's how NI users can vary so much, because what's in their box? What are the things that they're paying attention to? Yeah, because they'll have a tendency to keep collecting in those same areas. So yeah, they are organizers of the concepts they are seeing. That's just the best way to kind of summarize that. Observations and the organizing together. So yeah, what they talk about makes sense in their abstract inner world. So yeah, they have an extremely like vivid imagination of that, especially in a dominant position, that their most dominant function doesn't require them to interact with the extroverted world at all. Like they can be in their imagination. It's like an imagination bubble. It's like super like just this moving imagination pattern, seeing all kinds of connections, lots of abstract things that are connecting. And NI users can somewhat have like trouble, and I say trouble in the context of probably like how much is going on up there for them to translate that and to share it through their extroverted function. I think the outside world probably only gets a certain percentage of that extracted and put into English. I don't know that the depths of their inner world is ever really fully shared with other people. I think certain people may get a high percentage of it more than other people in their life, but still to some degree, this NI world is very deep. It's very abstract. Yeah. So they are seeing all of these abstract connections and they like to swim in it. That's kind of like their inner world. This function in a different position has slightly a different effect, but I think this is somewhat true still within the imagination of introverted intuitives. But yeah, it can be just like a knowing in a sense, like where they almost say like, I don't know how I know what I know, but I know it. Like it's just because for a person who's always in the state of seeing, narrowing down, crystallizing what's going on, they have a knowing about the experiences of like what's really behind it. They are like high discerners in that sense because of it. Like they discern the essence of a situation. Versus like extroverted intuition, it's like guesses. It could be this, it could be this. And their guesses very well, still in their own right, could be right. But NI is having a different effect. It's like, no, this is the one guess I've come down to. This is the truth in this situation. That is a bit how that functions for them. But yeah, so I was saying all that just to kind of describe that inner world. But yeah, NI is related to knowing what you want. It's seeing the desired future, a particular future. They are planners first and foremost. Yes, this is one of the biggest things. So NI, just think planning. It is seeing what they would do. It's like running a simulation of, let's see, I use the word simulation in the NE video as well, and it is simulations, but for NI, think of them being more married to it. It's like they could enter like a room and be like, okay, where are the exits? What would I do if someone came in with a gun? They've ran through that plan. They know what they would do. What would I do if someone punched me? I would do this, right? They are planning futures and are retaining those plans. They're organizing those plans. They can literally have like a filing cabinet of plans in a sense of like, in this situation, I would do this. They've drilled it. They've seen it in their imagination. They've seen what they would do. So whenever they come to that moment that it's time to do that thing, they just launch the plan. So think of that, how that's different, because extroverted intuition is more just in the moment. It's not like I'm sitting in a dark room. It doesn't have to be that, but just the picture of like I'm sitting, running plans, creating plans, building it like an architect, right? NI people, they have a plan for just about everything. NI kids are like, this is how I'm going to be as a parent. This is what my job's going to be. This is what I want to do. This is how I would build my house. This is how this is how I want my wedding dress to be. This is the type of car I want when I'm 40. Like, people with high NI are running their plans at that level, or can be, So the plan is above everything else. So they're navigating all these other things, but ultimately are working to accomplish their plan, to walk it out. Yeah, it means a lot to them. It's really what's guiding their life. So, yeah. They don't like to not know what to expect. So, yeah, they're future thinkers. As planners, they lock onto one specific path and don't like to change it. Once the path is formed, they will get annoyed with last minute changes. I've seen this in my life. So I'm an ESTP, and my husband is an INTJ. So his first function is NI. So this is primarily his dominant function. I have a sister that I do believe to be leading with this function as well. I think both of my sisters have this function high up, but they're both planners. My husband's a planner. And just an example of like seeing a gatherer with a planner. I have a tendency to not be as in touch with what I want, because NI is my lowest function. Something I've had to work on and like really spend time to like develop and export what I want and be intentional to stay on the path of that and not just run around anywhere. But anyways, I say that to say, with planners, I could have a tendency to like change my plan last minute and like, you know what? I don't want that anymore. Like, if you're working with high NI people, that can be highly annoying to them, because they developed the plan, they thought through it. They're like, okay, they incorporated all the things, they got the plan together, and now it's time to execute the plan. And then for, an SE user to out of nowhere totally change everything last minute, it can be, I'll use the word annoying. It's not that they can't adjust. It's just like, ugh, okay. Yeah, so that's just an example of like what it can be like for someone who is leading with this function, to stick with the plan once you've locked it down, in a sense. So yeah, because they've mapped it out, and they're very invested in the one that was built, in that sense. Okay. They want to build and not have to go over it again. Kind of said that. They are big picture thinkers about the future. Very much so. They're very much like innovative thinkers. They're thinking about the next generation. They're thinking about the impact of every decision. They're thinking of the trajectory of things. How this can affect this, and how this can affect this. And if this happens, then all of these other things will change. If you change this one thing, it changes all these other things. That's like being able to simulate and see futures, see the cause and effect. That's very NI related. They have an overview picture of how things affect other things. And they speak from a place of like, hey, these things matter, because they are very much in touch with the domino effect of everything. So yeah, NI starts zoomed out first, and then it gets to the details. So there will be the people who want to give you the overview, the concise, the overview. Hey, look, this is what it's really about. Here's all the little details in the end that, supports it. It's the way they talk. So introverted sensing is a bit different. It starts with the details first and then zooms out to the big picture. So they're both organizers, but have that different focus. They see how they want the end to look like. Yeah, very much. All other functions are subservient to the vision itself, to the direction. Ideas are real, and everything that exists is an example of the idea in practice. But yeah, need some water. Yeah, that's very different from me in a sense. I see that, but the idea takes prominence over the actual. The actual becomes supporting evidence of what they're seeing, of the concept played out. A lot of like religions and stuff have like an essential idea that they're living by. That's kind of NI like, This particular one-liner thing is what it's really all about. And you can see it play out in everything. Very NI type of thinking. They plan everything. They plan through everything they would do for each situation that could arise. They have thought through the various outcomes. They need, oh yeah, this is a really good point. So they need new extroverted sensing to continually come in to update their patterns. If not, they can live in a state of self-delusion. So yes, let's get to that. So if you're organizing this internal patterns based on, say you took in 5 observations, right? So all of your concepts are based on only these 5 actual reality, real life things you went and observed. I give something crazy, but I heard the dog bark, I heard the door slam, and I saw a light come on. Somebody with their NI could come up with what just happened, right? They could come up with someone just broke in. But it very well could be it's the owner just came home. Like if you don't go actually see who's in the room, that could be like more evidence to help you come to a better truth about what's going on in that sort of sense. NI users need to go out and actually gather. That's a growth point for them to actually continue to keep updating their file with new information so that the patterns that they are recognizing, so that the categories and all that organizing they're doing, it's important for them to constantly go and get new stuff so that as they're refining these observations, that they don't become self-delusional in the things that they start to believe and live by, direct their life by, because it's very future oriented. So it's like they're going to shift things like, I'm going to go over here. I'm not going to go over there anymore. I've turned because, this happened, So yeah, it's very important to update the file with new, kind of waking up out of that NI to participate and make sure to be bringing in new stuff that's not only known information, because that's a tendency to focus on known facts, thinking like, hey, the answer to my things, the answer to all my problems, the answer to in any situation is to go into my known my known, not facts, but my known patterns, my known concepts. The answer has to be in here. That's their savior behavior. So it's beneficial for them to look beyond that and to go actually take in some new stuff, to be a gatherer in a sense, so that when they organize real truths and not become self-delusions. So yeah. Their intuition is always organizing concepts into known categories. They focus on one concept, one view of reality, and on one guess of what's really going on. They have chosen it as the best concept, and they give their lives to developing it more and more. Some of this is redundant because I kind of said it already in my own flow, but I think a lot of this was really good. One chosen future outcome instead of options. That's a good comparison of NI versus NE. One chosen future instead of, hey, I could do this. I could be a photographer. I could be a cook. I could, fix cars. I could be a paraglider. I could be a, mountain climber. I could be a pilot. That's like a NE person. Someone who has high extroverted intuition struggles with locking down on one life path. They're like, because they're like, I'm good at all these things. I'm good at 30 different things. So I'm going to do all 30 of them. Or I can't land on just one. But the NI, they lock into what they want, their future, and one chosen future path. So yeah. This is something that I got more clarity on. It's awesome. My husband, there's a lot I can talk about on this, but I kind of got this clarification from him, because IJ types are considered control types, because types that want to organize, they want control somewhat in order to, it requires control to live out the internal observer preferences in a sense. So for an NI person, what control looks like for them, it comes down to they want control over the variables that potentially can affect their desired outcome. So yeah, it's the variables, the things that could pop up in a sense. They are like designing their plan so that the things that potentially could throw them off from achieving their goal are moved out of the plan or moved around in a sense. Like that's kind of what they need the freedom to get to their end point. So they're planning accordingly to be able to get there. They're seeing all the things that could affect it, and they have a plan for those things too, in a sense. That's what NI DOMS is like. I'm going to read some things that was really good. So they are controlling what they involve themselves in and the choices they make to achieve the future they want. So it's like, what situations are they putting themselves in? That's kind of like what the control can look like. And like, what choices can I make to get to where I'm going? Yeah. What am I going to be involved in? And what are my personal choices that can get me there? They want that freedom of choice. So one thing he said, he's an INTJ, so this might apply more to INTJs instead of INFJs, but he said he wants INFJs that NI, what it looks like, it's situational control. If they lose their freedom of choice, they would be miserable. I think at an essence of, having NI, it's, I need to have freedom of choice to get over there. I saw it, I want it, and I should have the freedom. Free will is a big thing with NI, because yeah, if you have a particular outcome you want, and you've already seen how you want to get there, that's personal to you. You want the freedom to be able to do that. So NI can be a strong will, one way to say it, because it kind of is the will. It's I know what I want. That's the will. So yeah, NI users are in touch with what they want, and they want the freedom to be able to walk it out and to stay free in order to get there. Yeah, they want control over each step they take on their path. This is true for all types who have NI. I have NI. My wants as a ESTP can be very just in the moment somewhat. It's like, I want Whataburger, so I'm going to Whataburger. Or I want to go here. I want to whatever. A lot of like low NI people, it can be more, it's serving the SE, and the SE is more, how do I say it? It's more, so it's gathering, but it's in the moment and flippant in a sense of wanting novelty. So the want can be, I want novelty. So it's like, it's still connected to the SE sort of gathering need. So yeah, one thing that's been helpful for me, which is an opposite side, where it's not that I don't know what I want. I can get out of touch with what I want, and I have to be still. I have to like go remind myself what I want. So that's something I've been exercising as an opposite gifting of this, who's not super in touch with, I have my whole future built inside of me. It's a file that's saved. I see it in every detail. It's there. It's so designed. I just simply need to export it. My husband wrote a book, and he just basically described writing a book as simply as exporting the file. That is so different than me. It's like, in other words, it's already designed. It's already built internally. Typing a book is literally just, I'm exporting the file. That's the level of internal organization and seeing what you want it to be, having already creatively designed it in his imagination and all of that, already built it and made the product. I've just got to export the product. my experience of exporting my NI, it's more like I'll look back on it and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't realize I said that. Like it's very much in the moment sort of thing. It's lower down. The organization has to be more intentional about really refining it. Again, we all have these functions. But if you're choosing something else over it all the time, it's going to be the weaker one. So we can grow in these functions that aren't dominant for us if we put time in it, you know? So yeah, that's something I've learned to do, to put more time into my NI. That I intentionally am writing out the future I want, and then designing my daily, like to incorporate that I'm actually on a path to get me there. As a high SE user, I would just wind up doing whatever I wanted, whatever my SE wanted in the moment, instead of serving the bigger vision of my life, you know? So I think that gives a good picture of the opposites, right? NI is so locked into what they want. They're just going toward it. Yeah, so what else? Yeah, here's a comparison again. So, NI, it's personal. Just saying, it's the one that I've refined within me. It feels like it's me. It's a part of me. This is what I see. This is what I want. This is where I'm going, right? In NE, they are less attached to their patterns, to their concepts, to the abstract things that they're seeing. But they're definitely seeing it. They want to express it. They want to talk about it. But it's not as personal. They just kind of need to express it. They need to be able to follow the whims of those connections, definitely. But they realize there's lots of paths, right? NI is like, nope, this is the path for me. This is the path for me. This is the things I've organized. This is significant. So yeah, I think that is a pretty good picture starting out of what NI is. I guess to list off what types has this, dominantly, it's the INTJ and the INFJ. Secondarily, you've got the ENFJ and the ENTJ. And then in a third slot position, you have the ISFP and the ISTP. And in an inferior place, you have the ESTP, that's me, and then the ESFP. Both have it in an inferior position. So, all right, guys, if you got value out of this, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for future content. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.